Hello everyone, Jobenblue here. For those of you wondering, I am playing Super Smash Bros. 4 for the Wii U on the CEMU emulator version 1.8.0. In this video, I'm going to be discussing whether or not we are going to see more info on the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3 at E3 in the coming days. I think I can definitively go ahead and say that yes, both games will be making an appearance at this year's E3. Joben, I hear you saying, those are some pretty big claims. We haven't heard anything about the Final Fantasy VII Remake besides the George Clooney voiceover reveal trailer in June 2015 at E3, the gameplay/story trailer released December 2015 at the PlayStation Experience, the cover art and screenshots released earlier this year, and all of the vague, saddening news about all the time that it's taken just to get done with the beginning sections. Not even to mention all of the news that it might be released in multiple parts, even though that each of those games would be the length of a full-length game. Kingdom Hearts 3 on the other hand, I don't really keep up with, but it also had the FF7 mock image released back in January along with some gameplay screenshots. So with all of that introduction out of the way, now it's time to actually get into the reason I made this video. The leaked Itinerary released at Square's business meeting back in May, posted by a guy named Chad on Twitter. I learned about this from the Final Fantasy VII Remake subreddit. In the description below, you will find both a link to the Final Fantasy VII subreddit as well as a Twitter tweet. So here we are with the actual itinerary. As you can see, it already says right here they will be covering Dragon Quest XI and the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I talked to Wario64 about this document and he said that he was concerned the fact that it's talking about IO Interactive, with Square Enix currently trying to sell off IO. I'm not entirely caught up to standard with the whole IO situation, so plans may have changed since the 2nd of May. On the 14th, we can see here that we're learning a little bit more about Final Fantasy 15. I'm sure they'll talk about 15 VR as well as some more DLC for the game, as it already says right there, new gameplay and trailers. And the real meat and bones of this document is here on Thursday. At 3 p.m., Tetsuya Nomura himself will be giving a special presentation on Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and many more surprises. I have a few personal theories about what those surprises could be, so stick around to the end of the video to hear those. Okay, I understand your criticisms. You're probably kind of skeptical right now. Are you kidding me, Joben? You expect me to believe some sort of itinerary from this Chad guy? Did you see all those typos? Personally, I think those are kind of like translation errors. Let's not forget that this is the company that said the phrase, "this guy are sick." There's more evidence besides this itinerary supporting the theory. We need to keep in mind that this is the 20-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Do you honestly think that Square's not going to market the crap out of that? More than likely, they're going to be talking about it at E3. Guess who actually just recently made some comments about that? That's right, Sean Layden, the guy that you see at E3 that announces all of these cool PS4 games. He actually talked about E3 recently in an interview where he said, Japanese developers are going to be making a big splash at Sony's conference. I think a lot of Japanese developers lost their way chasing the mobile game gen, if you will, but they're coming back to console in a major way. And speaking of, we'll have some big announcements at E3 in that precise vein. Did somebody say Final Fantasy Mobius? I'm kidding, I haven't played that game yet. I'm waiting till the Note 8 comes out. That definitely seems to me like something that this comment would be referencing. I don't think that the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3 are going to be the only Square Enix games that we hear about this year. Earlier this year, I made a video concerning comments made by Tetsuya Nomura in an interview where he said that there are many titles releasing this year if you can wait for any quote-unquote surprises. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay Joben, what's that supposed to mean? I'm not going to watch some fat kid talk to a camera for 2.5 minutes for a video that only has 50 views. Okay, I'm talking about the Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Remake/Remaster. It's the next best thing to actually hearing about the FF7 Remake, and it is going to be a very critical part of understanding Final Fantasy VII's story. I mean, let's face it, if you think Rogue One filling in the Death Star plot hole was a big thing, think about Crisis Core being literally everything. Do you know why people don't understand Final Fantasy VII's story that well? Because it doesn't make sense. If you play Crisis Core before going into Final Fantasy VII, it makes so much more sense. It's also on a very similar level to what we can expect to see in the Final Fantasy Remake in terms of actual gameplay. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core was released during the 10-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, thus making this the 10-year anniversary of Crisis Core. That game is hailed as one of the best PSP games of all time. I mean, Type 0 got a remaster and it's not even that good of a game. I also think that we might hear a little bit more about the Dissidia series. On June 7th, Dissidia NT was announced for the PlayStation 4. The Dissidia games are praised for being such great games, and with the Dissidia games finally coming to console, I think it's about time that the original good ones actually came to consoles as well. It would be pretty cool if some of these games could also come to the Vita, like what happened with Final Fantasy X and X-2. I'm not going to hold my breath about that because Zodiac Age is not coming out for Vita, even though that 10 is a PS2 game and it got released on the Vita, and 12 is a PS2 game, but it's not getting released on the Vita. I think the Dissidia games are kind of more wishful thinking, but I would almost guarantee that Crisis Core is going to get released at some point for the console. Okay, viewer, I still hear you complaining. What's with all these darn PSP remasters you're talking about? We can just go play them on our PC like you're doing right now. Nobody asked for all of these remasters. That's what emulators are for. Well, yeah, to a point, but you have to realize that the console users don't have access to these emulators, but still deserve to experience these great games. And like I said, it would really help patch FF7's story. Remasters are always a good thing, especially when Square makes money, so then they can fund the inevitable FF8 remake and Just Cause 4. Let's face it, PSP games not on the emulator look terrible. And right now, you're watching a video about a game as old as I am that you want to play a prettier version of because the game is kind of outdated in terms of graphics and gameplay. Kinda is a very loose term. It's fine if these games get released onto consoles. I don't want this video to go too much further off on a tangent, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I may make some more videos regarding the Final Fantasy series in the future, especially one I have planned called The Future of Final Fantasy. It'll probably be kind of long, but it'll be good. I'm not going to waste your time with it. This has been Jobenblue, and thank you all for watching. For the record, I'm pretty sure that people are misinterpreting this image. So people are saying that these are games coming out in fall 2018 or beyond, and the games that were like, oh, these games won't come out until 2020. What they were actually saying with this is that these games will be coming out by or during 2020. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the Final Fantasy remake isn't coming out until 2020. What it means is that it'll be out by 2020. If I had to guess, we already heard comments about Kingdom Hearts 3 and how they're going to release it next year, whether or not it's actually finished. They structured this as to where fall year 2018, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy Remake, and probably 2019, and then the Marvel IP license in 2020.